All right. So, welcome everyone. We're excited that we have a special Zoom event for all of our awesome Prime parents. We could not be more excited about our guests today. I sent you guys all an email, so hopefully you had a chance to read a little bit about Sue, but she was the longtime softball coach at UCLA. She won 11 total national championships, one as a player, 10 as a coach. I did my research. And she's in multiple Hall of Fames. She's been National Coach of the Year, just unbelievable athletic career. And what's really cool is she's now giving back to youth sports and doing things like this, where she's educating families, parents, coaches on how we can all be better and support youth athletes. So I'm super excited to have her with us today, and I will let Sue take it away.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. I first want to say thanks to all the parents that are dipping in at the end of the day when our energy probably gets tested. My goal today will be to hopefully give you engaging content and then leave time after to be able to ask Q&A. I retired in 06. I was born in Torrance and I grew up in San Clemente, and was very fortunate to be around great leaders. And I'm a daughter of a military father, so I had great discipline infused in me, and I had a mother that was a nurse who taught me empathy and understanding and just tried to be the best version of both of them. My career is an interesting one in the sense that I don't really think I did it that great in the beginning of my head coaching career. I was an assistant, a co-head coach, and a head coach. And part of that had to do with just this uber competitiveness that I had. And a lot of the programs that I put out to parents of performing children is to really articulate what type of leader are you? Coaching is leading, leading is coaching. And I always encourage parents to understand when you're in the sport environment with your daughter, you're actually another coach leader. And so tonight is around trying to find and give you insight from not only my career of not doing it right and hearing from my student athletes after the fact, but probably more relevantly in the 14 years that I have been retired, my passion is to teach as many parents as I can what I'm learning from their child's age group. So what do? I go all over the country, speak around competitive greatness and organizational excellence. And I call it organizational excellence because parents have to be navigating all these different things with their family. You have all these different dashboards of requirements that you're handling. But one thing I think we fall short of is there's an interesting thing that happens when you become a sport parent. And tonight is around hopefully building your awareness around the impact and influence that you have that is lifelong on your daughter. And hopefully I've put a little hop in your step. Hopefully I've given you some sticky content, but most important, I hope you feel like you have a colleague in this space, because the youth sports space has, in my opinion, has let you down. And present company excluded. I know I've done my research on Jess's and her staff's club. I want to commend you on your reputation, your integrity. But I think overall, what groups like Prime are up against is there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much of a false promise with no accountability. So tonight is around you as a great leader, you as a parent of a performing daughter, and navigating some tips and tools so your daughter, when she's done playing, can say, this was the most amazing 10, 12, 14 years of my life, depending on how deep she goes into her college career. So on that note, what I love to do is I hope everybody is watching this on their laptop, and I hope you have a phone nearby, because the first thing I do, I'm going to go ahead and grab share screen, and I'm going to ask you to get your text app out, and then I'm going to walk you through what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull up. Hang on 1 second. And then Jess, I'm gonna hang on a second. I'm gonna find and then Jess, you're gonna tell me if you can see this, or do I have, can you see these questions right here? Hang on one second. Can you see that question? Great. Okay. So what I'd like to do first is go to your text app, and this is an interactive live poll. So what that means is you're going to be answering questions on your text app, and they're actually going to come up instantaneously on this screen. And so what you're going to do, go to your text app, and you're going to type in my text number is 22333. And in the message box, you're going to go ahead and type Enquist, Enquist. And hang on one second. We've got lots of talkers. Make sure everybody turns off their audio, please, so everyone can hear. Okay.
Could you say the number again, real quick?
Yep. It's the text number is 22333, and then in the message box, you're going to type my name, Enquist. Lower, uppercase, doesn't matter, and hit send. And it should say you've entered Sue Enquist polling station. And so what I'm going to do is I'll try to keep an eye on Jess. You can let me know. Jess, are you able to get in with your text? Or maybe you haven't done it yet.
I haven't done it yet. I'll do it right now.
Yep. So once you get in, I want to give people enough time to get in. Once again, you go to your text app. My text number is 22333. In the message box, type in Enquist, Enquist, and hit send. Then what I'm going to ask you to do, question number 1, give me one word to describe your experience. And this is feedback for Prime Volleyball staff, so they know what your overall feeling is with Prime Volleyball. You'll be able to see the responses coming up live. Jess, can you read those? Can the receiver, can you read those okay?
Yeah.
Great. Wow. Impressive. And so what we'll do is when I get done with tonight, this will all be our coding will go ahead and synthesize all this data, and Jess and her staff will be able to have this and can send it out to the community if you want to do that. That's going to be on you. So I'll be able to give that to you, Jess. Wow, that's outstanding. Congratulations to you guys. It just sounds like you're doing some really good stuff. Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to ask everybody to take your hands off your keyboard right now, and we're going to go ahead and go into the next question. I wish there was more sport parent information on, and then just go ahead and put the letter in. And so the reason I do this is to give the club staff direction on where your interest lies. So when they're providing their curriculum each quarter, they've got a real pulse on all the parents overall, or at least the ones that are on Zoom. I go all over the country, and the number one answer, whether I'm working with soccer, men's baseball, softball, volleyball, all over the country, overwhelmingly, it's mental health. And so what we need to do, we have to almost take a triage approach. We need to, as youth sport influencers, it's a triage. We need to reprogram our student athlete to believe that we want her to have fun first, and it's her game. So that's a reprogramming, because right now the young girl thinks it's all about getting a scholarship because they're getting that from their parents, that influence. Number two of the triage is we have to reframe the coach's language around, it's not just all about X's and O's. When I interview 8 to 18 to 28 years old, when I work with national teams and Olympic teams, there's one resonating theme. She starts off at 8 and she loves it because she's having so much fun with her new friends. We interview her at 18 when she's a freshman in college. She loves it because she's met so many new friends. And then we interview her when she's a national team player and Olympian, and she's been able to sustain her career because she made lifelong friends. So there's a theme there that is completely slanted towards relationships and not necessarily getting another set of passes working on my left side. And so we've got to do a reprogramming with the coach regarding their X's and O's, and a combination of having fun and X's and O's. And trust me, I know that because I was an X's and O's coach. I was all about, when someone asked me for an extra 15 minutes of my practice, I could literally calculate, you want 15 minutes? Click, 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 click. That's 675 swings. I don't want to give that up. And now we're going to reframe that with the coach and say, yes, you do need to give that up. They need to have 5 minutes a day to goof off before the game and after the game. And then last, it's the parent. We really need to encourage the parent to be uber careful about your language in the car, your language in the bleachers, your language in the parking lot, because it's impacting your daughter like you can't believe. Those that have a propensity for mental health issues are the ones that have anxiety around trying to get a scholarship, trying to be perfect. So we know that, no parent wants to say my child is vulnerable, but I want every parent on this Zoom to just not assume that your daughter's perfect. Don't assume that she doesn't have any anxiety. I always tell sport parents, assume that she has anxiety. So do everything you can on game day to make it her day. That she really isn't interested in breaking it down. She's really not interested in talking about why so-and-so is the libero and not so-and-so. And so that triage of reprogramming needs to happen. And if we do that, we won't be seeing these numbers like we do. Okay, let me go ahead and get to the next one. So I call it the recruiting fort because there's so many things involved with recruiting. And if you can always remember this acronym, these are all the things that you're in charge of, not Prime Volleyball, not your coach. These are the things that you're in charge of. And so what do you need more help on? So Prime can help you and assist you on that, but not necessarily carry you through your recruiting. Your recruiting is your responsibility. And we need to say that more to our parents, that it's literally on them to craft their journey or their path to college, and then getting assistance with recruiting insight and with the programming that your club may put forth. As the results are coming in, I want to share with you some just fast facts. So we know there are 1,400 colleges, 1,400. So we know that the parents and the student athlete have to make a concerted effort to be organized on the right fit. And the only ones that can create the foundation for the right fit is the family. So I spoke to Jess. You're very fortunate because I think you have an in-house recruit educator, which is phenomenal. Having said that, when I talk to recruit educators that are in-house, the one thing they say to me, I wish the parents did a better job of being organized before they come to me. Because one thing that the recruit educator is not responsible for is finding your one school. You're in charge. I call it a 50-10-3 rule. Your job as a parent is to find the 50 schools. How do you do that? You just go online based on all the criteria that you're looking at and see which schools fit your profile. So it may be, I'm an outside hitter, I'm graduating in 2022. How many people are graduating from these schools in 2022? And then you look at all the other things, the academics, the size of the campus, the distance from school. Do you want to be in the sunshine? Do you want to be in, mittens? It's your call, but it's your job to be able to fine tune it down to 50 schools that fit. Then from there, your recruit educator can actually start putting out all of the information in the tactics that you need to use, with the hope of 10 saying, I'm interested in you. And then out of those 10, hopefully 3 can give you some sort of financial aid. It's important to understand that over 90% of financial dollars are outside of Division I. So I don't know your exact numbers with volleyball, but it's somewhere around 300. Maybe, I think you have more than that in Division I. Softball is 300 out of the 1,420 schools in softball. So we know the majority of opportunities are in D2, D3, and AIA. Some of the smartest, most amazing coaches and leaders are in Division 2 and 3. And why do I say that? Because they're in environments where there is a demand that student athlete be taken care of as a person first. Go D1, it's intense, because many of those schools, those coaches, they're paid to win. And so they're grinding you in, get the grades, get the championship. And if you're not with a leader that has the right attitude around developing the whole person first, and then let a game break out, it can be really overwhelming for the student athlete and the family. So this will help your staff at Prime know what to focus on when it comes to your recruiting fort. Just in general, when you're out there, you're out and about, do you trust the recruiting landscape? Not within Prime, but just out and about when you're hearing things. How is the environment for you? The reason this is a really common feedback, the reason we have this issue is we don't have any regulations in the recruiting industry. And since there are no requirements for vetted and verified information around recruiting services, around volleyball tournaments, the industry has a dark underbelly where there are people that are making incredible amounts of money on your behalf because of the overpromising. If I could have you remember one thing, I speak for many of my colleagues in college, and I want to, full disclaimer, my experience is in predominantly D1. So I'm always going to speak from a D1, a Division I lens. This idea that coaches that are in the recruiting business, whether it be coaches that have teams or clubs or recruiting services, this idea that I have all the coaches' ear, I'm the one that can get you a scholarship. Be very, very leery of that. On softball, the company I founded, One Softball, we're a listening tool for parents and for coaches. And so we have over 200 college coaches that are answering live polling just like this for me. And one of the questions I asked them was, how many youth coaches and youth recruiting services are in your personal dial, in your address book? And the average number was 6. So it's a red flag when people all over the country are saying, I've got all the coaches in my back pocket. And so be leery before you hand over money that someone's going to get you a scholarship, because we know the opportunity is less than 5%, less than 1% to go to the school of your choice on a full ride of any kind of financial aid. And so I have partners that when I do something, they're like, Sue, that was a really nice presentation, but you sucked the life out of me when you talked about the recruiting. I want every parent to know that, so you can invest in your child in a program that's going to develop her as a person. Because we know if she can make it through high school and continue to play sport, you've laid the foundation for her to do better in school and college. She'll be less likely to get pregnant. She has higher self-esteem, and she has an opportunity to launch into her career path with more vibrancy, because she's laid a foundation that she learned through her developing years in sport. So although we fall in love with this idea of getting a scholarship, we get all whipped up about it. It's all I'm asking parents is to speak intelligently about the scholarship, just like you speak intelligently about your life insurance, your car insurance, your health insurance. You look at those documents and you discern everything. You're such critical thinkers. I'm going to ask you to be that same critical thinker on Saturday morning. When you're out there at a tournament and you meet somebody and they're telling you something third hand, you would never operate your health insurance, life insurance, and car insurance like that. You may get somebody's recommendation, but then you know you're going to go do your own investigation. So I always encourage you, build your own recruiting fort. You have a trusted source here with Prime Volleyball. So you're in great hands. Do you feel pressure to keep up with the Joneses? And it could be in anything. I don't care if it's technology, equipment, recruiting, or do you feel good? You have a good balance around that. And the reason this is important, I think it helps Jess and her staff tackle some of the things that may be out there that they can be sensitive to. I'd like you to start thinking about being more aware that your daughter, and I'm going to generalize, if she is a pre-teenager or a teenager, has a tremendous amount of pressure to keep up with the Joneses, because she is the first generation that technology never came into her life, right? It didn't come into her life when, by the time she was old enough to know better, the phone and social media was already in her life. And so if it's hard for parents to understand why they're so obsessed with it, it's not technology to them. That's part of their lifestyle. So I'm sure some parents have dealt with, Sue, you're not going to believe it. They're in the backseat of the car. And I say, who are you texting? And she's texting her brother that's sitting right next to her. And it's mind-boggling, I know, but that's their form of communication. And so it's our job as coach leaders and parents that are leading their child in the sport environment to just understand how to navigate it, when we're going to turn it off and when we're going to turn it on. And I know the majority of you do a great job of that. But it really doesn't help her if you just keep saying, stop worrying about TikTok and how many thumbs up you get. That actually doesn't resonate with them. So when they have that anxiety around that, it's just super important to have empathy with them. And moms and dads, if you can just hear them and say, yeah, God, that stinks. Is there anything I can do to help? Or is there anything you want to try to change and we can work on it together? And be with them in that struggle. And then as a parent, the only thing that you can do is catch them doing it right every day in their schoolwork, in their academic, in their athletic world, and in their friendship world. Catch them doing it right, being a great daughter, being a great student, and being a great athlete, and being a great friend. Just a little drip, drip, drip. And you do that over 10 years, it becomes their language, becomes their values. As parents today, you have the greatest competitor that parents have ever had. That's the internet. You're the first generation where the child no longer says, my parents are my single biggest influence. They'll say overall that it's the internet. that it's Instagram or it's TikTok, whatever it may be, Snapchat. Now, I'm going to wager on this call. I'll bet you the parents here are doing a high touch, very intentional, leading their children. But I'm going to ask you to have sympathy and empathy for those children that are in your club or on your team that aren't getting that leadership, because it's a terrible place to be when you're 14 years old and think that your entire worth is based on a scholarship or based on how many likes you get. So I love to see that the majority of you aren't feeling that kind of pressure, but if we could be sensitive to that, your daughter may be. Okay. Why am I asking this? These are top performance skills that all sustainable championship teams value. I would like your opinion on this. This is what I want to know. I want to know what you value that you hope your team is being taught. So the question is, what top 5 performance skills do you hope your teams are being taught? Okay, not what you believe in your house, but the team itself. And you can vote 3 times. When we do this, there may be some that really stick out. This gives direction for Prime Volleyball to make these core standards with the teams. And then you have opportunities to teach these things overall. This is also a great lesson visually to see how many people have different lenses on what's important. And so I love doing this exercise because you'll see that there's a lot of different belief systems out there on what the teams should be focusing on. But this gives you a little bit of direction. So you can see that accountability and mental toughness, resilience, a little bit slight edge, but probably the biggest thing is accountability. So maybe that becomes a core focus on the teams. And what are some of the things we can do during practice to work on accountability? There's some wonderful activities out there that your teams can really acquire and start embedding into their program, which will be huge because when the college coach comes in to interview you, they'll be talking about accountability. They're going to talk about how you become accountable in a team environment. All right, we'll go to the next question. Moral skills. So the difference between our performance and moral think relationships, right? So the ones that you just voted on have to do with getting to the top. These have to do with staying on top. These have to do with other people. You need other people to be great at these things. Whereas the last questions, you didn't need anybody to be great at those things. So coachability and respectful are clearly 2 leading core values that you all hold. I think this kind of stuff will be helpful for Jess and her staff to take a deeper dive and look at this and maybe implement some programming and some activities around that. Because when you can build a club program that is driven by the voice of the families, that ends up being a powerful experience as a volleyball family. Okay, parents, here's your chance. Just one thing. I don't care if it's regarding your daughter, regarding the coaches, regarding anything, other parents. What's your one thing? We call it a JOT, J-O-T, just one thing. What would your just one thing on match day? Maybe something that Jess could actually help facilitate when your teams are playing, showing up. I took that literally, but I think I know what you mean. Remember, if we want our student athletes to be focused, we have to give direction. We have to give plans in lots of little tiny bites. Can't be talking a long time. Got to do everything in short little bites. As coaches, then we throw it back at them and we test them on what they heard. We just have to get them more engaged in the communication, learning, and competing. I challenge all those coaches out there, let your kids coach. Let them coach the last 10 minutes of practice. Force them to see the whole game. Sit in your chair. I had a volleyball coach. I was talking to him the other night, and he said, you know what we did? We did parent night, and we let the parents coach. Nothing better than putting the parents in the coaching seat so they can appreciate what it's like. I think it'll be interesting when you get a chance to look at all of this, Jess, and I have lots of colleagues that will end up putting it in categories, these answers, and then you can share that with your coaching staff and then hopefully tweak it in practices and on game day. Okay, we'll pull our hands off the phone. I'm going to go to the next one. Two ways of thinking. It's an apple and an orange. There's no wrong answer. The reason I always use this question is there are times where I have done this with teams and it's been just the opposite. And this gives parents a greater lens on what the whole team is feeling, right? So maybe you're a mom and dad and you're like, hey, I'm dropping my kid off at Prime Volleyball because I want her to learn how to compete and I want her to learn what it takes to win. Because those parents are taking responsibility 100% on the character development themselves. So they may be the parents that say, listen, these are our goals regarding your experience in volleyball. I hope the child knows that so they don't equate winning with being a good person, because those do not go hand in hand. But what we find is the majority of parents sign their kids up because they know it's good for their health and it's good for their well-being. But then you get in the trap and the next thing you know, you become crazy parent. So it's great to see. This is an affirmation for Prime Volleyball to continue with the philosophy that they have, that we're going to go ahead and develop the person first and the competitor next. Can't develop a great competitor if the person's not whole. If she is completely filled with anxiety, no matter how great you are as a coach, you're going to struggle. And we've got to do a better job of get that out of the closet. I coached 15 Olympians. I was a part of 11 championships. Do you want to know how many kids have performance anxiety? Had kids that dealt with depression? It's a real deal. You're not weak sauce. Your kid is not broken if she suffers from this. What is broken? If you don't make her feel okay with having to deal with this. And I always say, think of it like a hamstring pull. You got to manage it. You got to pay attention to it, but we keep on moving and you're still accepted. You're still a good person and we still love you. That has to come from the coaches. That has to come from her teammates. And most importantly, it has to come from you as a parent, because performance anxiety is a natural way of your body saying it matters. That's all. It matters. And if we can teach young girls that getting excited, getting sweaty palms, getting a stomach ache, that's okay. You'll settle in once the game gets going, instead of this idea that you have to be fearless. All my work right now on transformative coaching, my number one thing, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I want to be able to have the world say, God, she was trying to get people to understand it's okay to have performance anxiety. It's okay to be a little bit cuckoo in your head with your thoughts. It's okay. Great champions have that too. What separates the great champion? They have the ability to keep moving through those thoughts. That's a whole nother clinic, but there is a routine you go through so you can move through your crazy, doubtful thoughts. And once the young girl knows how to do that, sport can be so much fun. But we're making the games so big, she can't feel comfortable and loose because we're making the event so big. We make such a big deal about it. So if we can do a better job of letting her be bigger than any one event, it ends up being really fun. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to pop out of here. And I got to go ahead and back to my screen share because I got to go on to another screen. And I'm going to walk through, Jess, I'll send you that summation data. So you have that. And then Jess, let's see here. You give me the green light here. Let me know. I can't see your face right now, but I'm going to go ahead and start the deck. We'll run through the deck just to give some tips to the parents. Jess, can you see this? Can the family see this okay? Perfect. This is my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. I'm always in your back pocket. I'll send this whole deck to Jess so you have it. I'm going to talk about your operating system, parent exemplars, micro behaviors, and your legacy overall. Keep it simple. Your thoughts actually drive the words that come out of your mouth. Whatever comes out of your mouth stains her brain. Please remember that. She's going to remember stuff you said when she was in 6th grade, when she's a sophomore in college. And then your actions on game day. Be aware of what your daughter needs. May your behavior reflect what your daughter needs. It's a little dark, but I want you to see these words. I want to quit, emotionally not strong. I suck. I'm not good enough. I'm letting everyone down.
Hey, Sue, sorry, Sue, we're only seeing the front page.
Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Hang on a second. Let me see if
we go up to the play slides up there. It'll fill the screen.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's when you lost.
Oh, dang it.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me bring it to the front. Hang on 1 second. I got to bring it up to the front. Can you see that?
Yeah, it stopped sharing completely now.
Yep. Hang on 1 sec. Sorry, everybody. Please be patient.
Technology. It's always a struggle.
Yeah.
No matter how many times we do stuff.
Yeah.
Technology
we were on a roll, weren't we? Hang on a sec. Let me just do let's just share it again. It's not working, is it?
Yeah, it's just on that page where it says like 2017 tournament MVP. Oh, there we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's good? How about that? Can you see it now?
Yep.
So you have this negative self-talk, but I want you to know that everybody has negative self-talk. So when you do hear your daughter be critical of herself, it's just important that they understand you have a strong and a weak voice, and let that strong voice win the conversation. So all of these champions, these were actual responses when I asked our champions to say, I wanted them to write out their negative voice. So as a parent, your job is just to make sure she has just as many positive prompts in her head as she does negative, because you're never going to get rid of the negative, but you just got to make sure that the strong voice always wins the conversation. Words matter. So we built a glossary of competitive character words, and I'll give this to Jess so you guys can all work on these skills. Why these skills? These are the skills that all college coaches of winning programs valued. So my partnership with What Drives Winning, if you're interested in hearing from great coaches talk about what it means to be a champion, we built our glossary with them, and my influence from Coach Wooden, The pyramid of success is also in there. So this is just a tool for your group to be able to work on all these skills that are important to be a better person and better competitor. I also want you to know I was interested in finding out what the top character skills were for colleges. And these were the ones that they put forth, their top performance skills, their top moral skills. So now you have even more of a focus on what's important from a college coach perspective. So what do the best do as parents? It's easy to remember. Parents have a constant language about sustaining improvement each and every day. Competing actually means defending your family values. So compete every day to defend what your family believes. The middle finger, you stay organized. You're going to have lots of noise out there. Always teach your student athletes family comes first, and faith if you have that, and then school, and then ball. Resilience is probably one of the things that we're working the most on right now in 2020 is this ability. We're in plan B. And then energy. Great players give great energy. You can have a daughter that's a loud leader, a quiet leader. It's about giving energy that connects to others. So don't feel like your daughter has to be super demonstrative. I couldn't care less if that player was super demonstrative. I wanted to know if she managed failure recovery, if she was connected to her teammates, she was engaged with her teammates. So you can be quiet, but still engage 1v1. It's easy to remember. Thumbs up, sustain. Number one finger, I'm competing. The bad finger, block out the noise. Resilient, I'm going to commit to being first up after failure, the ring finger. And then pinky promise to be a good friend. So this goes down to 7 to 8 years old. We tried to go down to 6 and 5, but we lost them. So you might have to wait for the younger kids to get a little bit older, but this is something we use in college too. Then we turn this into a career, leave your handprint on your career. So this is a great frame for them to remember the things they need to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the micro behaviors. I talked a little bit about it, but I just want to go over these red flags. I don't need to talk about them. I talked about them earlier, but these are red flags and what they sound like when people are trying to talk to you about the recruiting, trying to recruit you to other clubs, whatever it may be. As a parent, you're always hearing about, hey, we need to go over there or over there. So just be sensitive to, these are things that are trying to lure you in that are unfounded, not vetted, not verified. Hang on 1 second. I want you to think about, let me go back. I want you to think about on match day that you are going to the movies, and on the movie day, what do we think about? We think about being sensitive to other people, being quiet, turning your cell phone off, and getting on an amazing emotional roller coaster, but you're never jumping on the stage. You're never yelling at the theater. And if we could just always remember that, your intention to give mechanical instruction during the game is a complete backfire, not only to your daughter, but to your daughter's friends. And if you're ever wondering what they say in the huddle, they're like, Georgia, so sorry your dad's such a jerk. I wish that we could tell him. This idea of giving mechanical instruction in the stands does not work. And I hope that on this call that parents realize I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just the messenger. I'm the messenger of the girls that are saying what hurts me the most is when I hear my parents doing the coaching from the stands. I have enough pressure from my coach. The second thing is parents do so much cheering, even positive, they feel a sense of pressure. In the sport of softball, we're starting silent Sundays, and that's where parents just come to the game and they get to just listen to your girls cheering on each other. And it's a reminder that it's their game. It's kind of a fun thing to take on. So we do a silent Sunday. So on Sundays, it can be their leagues that are taking that on, or we're just going to let the kids play. And as a parent, it's kind of nice that you can just sit back and relax. And yes, just like a movie, it's an emotional roller coaster. But I challenge you, this movie is your daughter's. So maybe watch her movie, but don't be a part of her movie. We already had our chance. to play the game. Some of us maybe not. But if you can protect her in her game, she'll stay in the game longer. I'm just going to put this up here. This is from a 14-year-old club athlete. So hopefully some of that may help you be more aware as a parent, and some of it you may not even have to tackle. This is for our moms. So just some things to think about. Probably when I do these for parents, the number one feedback I get is I had no idea my daughter is paying attention to so much of what I'm doing on the phone. And I'm in the kitchen and my daughter's in the family room. Their ears are this big. They can hear everything, and then they put their own common sense in it. And so I just ask parents, it's such a big job to be a parent of a performing child. If you could just try to protect them on game day and practice day, that the discussions you need to have with your husband or your wife, if you could do that in the privacy and let her just enjoy the game and be innocent in the game, I think she'll stay in the game longer. When I counsel kids, I never heard them say, I can't stand my parents because they believe in me too much. If anything, it's just the high expectations because you love them. You know, my father used to always say, the greatest compliment I can give you is a high standard. I laugh now, but at the time, it kind of sucks the life out of you, right? Those expectations can be crazy. I ask you to stain their brain every time you see a Sharpie pen. I want you to check yourself and say, did I catch her doing it right today? That Sharpie pen is everywhere in our life. It's in the cup with all the pencils. It's right by the phone. It's in the junk drawer that's super crowded with junk. Every time you see a Sharpie, I want you to ask yourself, am I an engineer of belief? Am I creating the conditions for her to believe that she's worthy? She's a good person. On good days and bad days on the court, she's still a good person. The confidence bridge is simple. It goes like this. You monitor her talk track, her internal and external talk track. And you literally talk to her where she is right now in this point in time. You document how great she is, the things that she's done well. And you keep dripping, dripping, dripping. Even though she's like, Dad, stop saying that. You drip that for 10, 12 years, she'll have high self-esteem because you have dripped that on her. And in doing that, you then can also project success. And you simply say, hey, I know we lost that match, but think about all the things you did Monday through Friday. You're not going to get the payback, but just be where your feet are right now, feel the pain, and then let's move through it and get on to the next match. Because excellence doesn't wait for you to get out of your junk. Excellence simply says this: you got to own it, you got to feel it, and you got to move on. You're a good person. Don't think that you're a bad person just because you had a bad match. The 33% rule simply says this: there's a third of the people in your community that will suck the life out of you. That will literally suck the life out of you. It's that family that just never puts a filter on it. Then you have middle third. They love the game. They love the team. They love the club when you're, 0-0 undefeated. But the minute their kid's not playing, they turn into bottom thirds. Then you have top third. They grind it out every day. They're giving their best. They understand that it's not perfect. And they're sending great messages to their children. And in this Zoom, I bet you're your top 1%. I had a family say, you know what, Sue, I love the 33% rule, but the bad news is the people that need to hear the 33% rule aren't on the Zoom, right? Sometimes the ones that need to hear it aren't the ones that come to these extra activities. But if you can always remember the sphere of excellence, don't let the bottom thirds affect you in the bleachers. Don't let them affect you in the parking lot. It's noise. Nobody knows your daughter better than you. Nobody knows your daughter better than you. Trust your instinct when it comes to her path to college, and you have to be her gatekeeper. No one knows your child better than you do. You know way more than you think you do regarding the path to college too. just a review on the digital brain. We know that their brain is actually wired differently now because they were raised with a flat screen. So it's always important in everything that they're doing that these components are there. Animations aren't picking up very well here on our Zoom tonight. I'll share. The animations aren't coming up, but I'll share them with you. Number one, they learn best by watching somebody else do it regarding anything in volleyball. Number two, they have to be in short bits. Their video attention span is less than 1 minute. So anything that you're teaching them have to be in small, bite-sized experiences. Try to remember that when it comes to their digital brain. And last, you've got to be able to renew that video over and over. They can't watch something 2 or 3 times and own it. They've got to be watching it over and over for it to kind of stay in their brain. I'm going to leave you with this document in the deck. It's just great information about the digital brain today. I'm leading up a consortium called hawkline.org around mental health. And our education curriculum person has some great content. And Jess, I'll make sure that your families have this. Just some mental health fact sheets on student athletes, super powerful, some of these statistics. Don't look for signs of mental health because it will not show up. It's very difficult. So just already assume that there's a level of anxiety so you can go ahead and do and create the right conditions for your child to have an enjoyable experience. Learning labs are a big way for them to learn on their phones, learn by doing, making sure that they can watch other people doing it. And then obviously through storytelling, and I'm sure Jess and her staff understand the importance of bringing in people that have already lived the story and to share their tips and tools. We've got a document that we put together for by One Softball, but Jess, I'm going to share that with you so the parents have that. Some just general questions. You can go ahead and turn this into a volleyball document. What's mine is yours, and feel free to brand it however you like. And then last, I hope your legacy as a sport parent is one where your ascension to being at the top of your game is rooted in personal excellence. I got that from my parents. They are the single greatest influencers in my life outside of Coach Wooden. And I hope that you every day have inspiration around being their personal best, because at the end of the day, if they can be that, that's going to be good enough. Their best will always be good enough. And as parents and mentors, I hope that you can have that message consistently with them. In the end, I think
3 balls and a strike to count to Brent Johnson. 1 out, top of the 7th inning. Fresno 2, Tacoma 1. Santos in a jam. Johnson his first year at AAA. From the set he deals. That swung on and driven deep down the left field line. Toward the corner, and this ball is going to be... Oh, it's caught! It's not Jake Wald. That's the ball girl. Jake Wald in left field. Can't believe it. And look, she shows him up. She just sort of tosses him the ball, saying, take that, Jake. I don't see you making the effort. Alfonso, the catcher, he can't believe it. Let's look at that replay. Oh, my. What an amazing play. And now look at her sitting there saying, no big deal.
So at the end of the day, I hope that you create the conditions where your little girl never feels like the ball girl. That she has unbelievable potential in her and her belief in herself. You are the single greatest influencer in that. So I always like to show that baseball video because it's a great visual reminder that she may come across quiet, shy, but her potential is limitless. And on that note, I want to thank you for investing in yourself as a parent of a performing child. And I know I didn't leave too many minutes for questions, but Jess, I want to make sure that you know that I'll be here to answer every last question. So anybody that has questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for them.
Thank you so much.
And I don't know how you set it up on Zooms, if you let them raise their hand or how you would like to go about doing that, Jess. I'm going to go off of you because everybody does it differently.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions for Sue, feel free to just type them in the chat, and that way I can ask her for you.
Yep, I'll turn my chat on too, and as they come in, we'll just do kind of like rapid fire. You can put me on the hot seat, and I'll try to be brief and be gone. I know I'm cutting into your evening clearly.
I'll ask you a quick, completely off-topic question. One of our coaches also grew up in Torrance. She wants to know which high school you went to.
Oh, I actually was just born there. I went to San Clemente High School. So I moved to San Clemente when I was, 5. I've been here since I was 5.
Awesome.
Thank you. You mentioned one tip for addressing anxiety on game days to make it their day. What does that mean? Can you give an example? Yeah, one of the things that we do when you get in the car, we just start talking about the game. We never just put our hands at 10 and 2. So here's my quick tip. When you get in the car, just put your hands on the 10 and 2, all right? And just drive the car and speak when spoken to. Sometimes they just want to chill, put their earbuds in, listen to their music. The game is over. Same thing. You get in the car, don't speak until spoken to. And our natural inkling is to break the game down. They're exhausted and they really don't want to. So if you could do that, think that you're going to the movies. Tip number 2 is I'm going to the movies, so I'm not going to make it about me in the bleachers. I'm not going to be the loudest one yelling at my kid. Even though it's positive, you can't believe I'm shocked as you are. I'm shocked at how many kids are saying no cheering is good. I would love it because they feel pressure. I'm going to tell you something else that they feel pressure about. They feel pressure that you're spending so much money on them because I feel like I have to pay my parents back. So those are some quick tips that you can use on game day. Do you have any tips for parents keeping our daughters motivated during COVID-19 and the off season? Yeah, what a challenge, right? It's unbelievable. What I would do as a parent is I would just scour Instagram, keyword search, resilience matters, great champions, being resilient. There's so much wonderful storytelling. Grab a couple of videos each day. So you have one in the morning, you have one at night. Be creative with her in terms of, I was just talking to some champion level volleyball players literally today. And I'm like, tell me what you're doing. And they're like, I'm literally setting on the side of the house. And these are super high level volleyball players. And so being creative as a parent and being uplifting in that can help them. And when you hear them complaining, just let them complain, let them get it out and just say, I hear you. I hear you. I know that's gotta be horrible. Let's see if we could do this. What do you think about this? Right? So own it with them, be in it with them, but just try not to let them sit in it too much. Each year brings a new coach, at times very different styles. How can we prepare them for the reset? Yeah, great question. And we have the same thing in softball. Same thing, lots of turnovers. She probably already knows the basic fundamentals. And as a parent, you've got to remind her, you already have a great foundation. Someone's going to come in with a little bit of a slant. Trust me, Susie, your foundation is already good enough. You're going to hear something new. Try it for 4 or 5 weeks. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work, then have a sit down with your coach and say, I tried it for 5 weeks. It doesn't work. So one of the things that we don't give our kids enough credit for is their foundation. So someone could come in and say, we're going to do something a little bit different. No one needs to panic. Most of you have some really solid fundamentals underneath you. Thank you for that compliment. I love your feedback. Great. Perfect. Any other questions out there, everybody? This is the last call. I'll be turning the lights on and off. How do you deal with your coaches telling you 2 totally different things on a skill? How do you address that with them? Yeah, good point. We get that a lot. I would encourage your parents, I'm sure you have a parent meeting, is I would ask before you have your orientation, right? Every team has an orientation, right? And the orientation, they cover all the admin. I would ask on behalf of the parents, if you would please go through the fundamental principles that you all are going to be teaching. So everyone, the coaches, are now held to a standard that all the coaches are hearing it at the same time that you're hearing it. So we have that same issue, and the breakdown is the coaching staff doesn't have a fundamentals conversation amongst their staff, and everybody is kind of freewheeling it. But if it's coming from the parents and they have to present that, then there's a consistency in that. Now, when you're talking about the conflict with high school, what you're going to do there, once again, you're going to take a moment and say, listen, Bob and Jana, we have a conflict in these 3 areas. Can you guys let me know what one we're going to agree to? Because it is a little difficult to have her be playing high school ball at 3 o'clock and setting this way. And then now it's 7 o'clock and she's with Prime and they're doing it that way. I would really encourage that whole foundation conversation, because it's not perfect, right? It's not perfect. You're going to have a lot of conflicting information, but that strategy works the best when I talk to parents. It's coming from the parents. Yep, I know it's not perfect, Susie, but you've got such a solid foundation. You'll be fine. After 5 weeks, you don't see a difference. You sit down. You sit down with your coaches, Susie, not the parent. Make sense? Okay, seriously, no chat. That's awesome. The parent says, okay, seriously, no cheering. All I'm saying is don't shoot the messenger. I am the one that's doing the anonymous polling with the kids. And I said, what one thing regarding parents cheering, more cheering, less cheering, no cheering. And no cheering is like winning. So I know it's a different sport. Softball may be more crazy than volleyball, but I'm just putting it out there so you know that's what they're feeling. And please do me a favor and don't go to your kids and go, hey, I talked to Coach Enquist and she said you don't like cheering. Because trust me, the kids are on autopilot. They know what to say so you feel okay, because they don't want you in their ear, right? They're just trying to manage so much regarding this performance anxiety stuff. It's big. It's prevalent. It's everywhere. The best kid on the team, the richest kid on the team, the poorest kid on the team, that anxiety is permeating everybody. And it starts with the parents being so excited about game day. But it's a movie. And if we could remember, it's a movie. Just watch the movie. Of course, obviously, I brought that up around Silent Sunday because we've had so many issues with our parents getting a little bit too active. So each team has to go ahead and figure out what's going to be best for them. I just want to be a voice to the kids. Thank you for those comments. Negative team talk, parents talking about other teammates, trying to stay neutral, but kids here on both sides. Yeah, you've got to be parents. Gosh, you have so much pressure on you, right? But one thing that you can really be dripping on your student athletes is you in sport. I would say, if I'm a parent, Susie, in sport, it's just like life. You're going to hear people that are they spew poison. Poison or positive comes out of your hole. Positive or positive comes out of your hole. Susie, our family is going to work on having positive things come out. But you're going to meet people that are like that. Don't let them drag you down. That's a bottom third parent. Teach your kids the 33% rule so they know when they're being bottom third and they know when they're around bottom third. Because if we have the majority of the team is middle or top third, the majority is middle or top third, that bottom third can't change the complexion of the whole team. So if we learn how to understand that and not get affected by it, you'll end up enjoying it more.
Sue, there's a question. If you have any advice transitioning from 8th grade to high school.
Oh, yes, definitely. First, a shout out to friends of Erica Ziancina. Oh my goodness, great ball player for UCLA, catcher. More importantly, her dad was my softball coach when I was in 8th grade. Small world. Thank you for that. Transitioning from 8th grade to high school, as a parent, you're going to remind your student athlete this. You have just spent the last 4 years playing volleyball, the last 4 years of going to school. You've got this foundation that you're ready for high school. Everyone's saying you're going to the next level. Let me tell you all the things that stay the same. The court is the same. The ball is the same. The fundamentals are the same. Academically, you've already proven yourself that you're disciplined, that you're a hard worker, that you stay positive. You hang on to those 3 core values when you get into high school, you're going to kill it. So be the parent that says, I'm catching you doing it right with your values. Where you go next, it's the next level. It really isn't the next level. It's just a matter of sustaining your core values, understanding you've already done the hard work and you're going to do it again. It's just at another school called high school. And I feel the same way about high school to college. It's the same conversation. There's not a lot that changes. It's just more demanding on your values. You got to work harder. You still have those values. You got to stay positive. You still got those values. Got to be resilient. You still have those values.
Awesome. One more question is communication with coaches about your daughter's performance. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, you shouldn't be a part of it. You shouldn't be a part of it. So she's playing on club volleyball. That's serious. You got to teach her these conversations to have herself with that coach, because she's going to need to do that in college. So what you need to do is prep her on, coach, this is what I perceive, and give her an opportunity to be heard, and then see what the coach says. And if you're like, my daughter could never do it by herself. Okay, you go with her the first time. She must do all the talking. She must do all the talking. Don't save her, because you are setting her back, because when she gets into that coaching, that first meeting with the coach, when I coached at UCLA and I got those parents and that student athlete there, I looked her right in the eye and I said, welcome to UCLA. Tell me about failure recovery. I did not want her to look at her parents. And if you're not teaching her that right now, she's going to look to you in front of the college coach. Don't forget, I've got 5 people at her position. And the ability to articulate who you are and to be confident in that, that's a tiebreaker for coaches. 5 outside hitters, 5 3.6 GPAs, 5 kids that live right down the street from UCLA. The tiebreaker is the kid that can look me in the eye without blinking. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. And this is why I think I can help contribute to your program. Let her practice that for 4 years so she has that talk track down and it comes out naturally. Don't coddle her now. You'll set her up for failure later.
I'll just ask a quick follow-up to that, because that was awesome. Yeah, just I think a big struggle for a lot of parents is letting their kids fail, like the idea of letting them, struggle through not getting the playing time they want, or, not getting the outcomes they want. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, number one, parents struggle with not getting playing time because they're equating playing time with recruiting opportunities. And that's all a fallacy. The coach isn't going to that big tournament looking for talent. They've already got the list. So the parent is responsible for getting the right fit and then reaching out to those schools before the tournament even starts. So we have a big tournament. We have softball's like volleyball. You've got that big tournament. I don't know where it is, if it's in Florida or Davis or wherever it is, I forget. We have a tournament. There's 34,000 softball players. I'm not going there to find players. I already have my list of 20 kids I'm watching. So don't base playing time as such a big deal. You need to do the homework on organizing the fit on the front end. So then when she has days where she's not playing, you can navigate that and let her navigate through that to be a good teammate. Because this idea, I'm going to go ahead and go to the other team, you're going to run into the same problems wherever you go. So it's really important that you understand that. That almost sounded like a lecture. Sorry that sometimes I get coachy, right? Can you imagine playing for me? My poor kids. Oh, my poor kids. Yeah, that question about it would be great if coaches had more one-on-ones and did more communicate. I agree. I mean, I think this is something Jess probably tackles. I think we need to do a better job of letting our coaches know that they've got to be better communicators. They've got to be able to say, hey, when in doubt, this is what I did when I was coaching. Hey, if I've got to pare down a hitter, when in doubt, I'm going to go with the hitter that can hit the long ball. On defense, when I'm looking at the middle infielders, I'm going to go with the middle infielder that has more range. I think our coaches need to do that more for the parents. Hey, when I'm looking at an outside hitter, I'm looking at vertical jump is the tiebreaker. Like, parents need to know all this stuff and know where they need to know where their kids stand. They need to do a better job of that. I know that's a challenge of yours probably every year, Jess. So I feel your pain. That's a good question from that parent.
It's a good reminder, though.
All right. Well, I see 8:44 on the clock. I have kept you 15 minutes late. In my world, that's 400 up downs. So on that note, Jess, I just, any last thoughts from you so we can let our parents go?
Oh, I just want to thank you so much for your time. And I think it's just been such a great resource for our parents. And yeah, I really appreciate you being here with us.
Well, great. Good luck with everything, parents, Jess and staff. Good luck. I was looking at all these names and I saw Paula Weishoff. Is that the Paula Weishoff?
That is the Paula Weishoff. That's who asked if you went to high school in Torrance, because she grew up in Torrance.
Paula Weishoff, you are such a baller. I watched you play. You were so good. Oh my goodness.
Are you kidding me right now?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Did you go to SC?
I did.
Yes. I hate you, but I loved you. That's awesome. Congrats on your career. My Lord.
Thank you very much.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
No.
Yeah, I'm a big volleyball fan. So
I'm like, okay, thank you very much. Look who's talking.
oh my gosh, that's great.
Incredibly
All right.
Paula.
Well, I had to be totally unprofessional and pick you out because I thought, God, I wonder if it could be her. Anyway, Jess, thank you for everything. Call me if you need me. I'll send all this information to you this week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate it.